Alright, so let's get started. For this project, I'll be using an 8x10 canvas and Gina's door. Um, and this is the doorknob I picked, but there are other style of doorknobs and lock plates that you can use. I'll also be using some vintage vanity Prima paper created by Finnabair from the 2013 winter release. And I'm just picking papers because I'll be tearing them up or cutting them up and collaging them and putting them, gluing them down to the canvas just to create a base to work with. So here you'll see just cutting strips and figuring out my layout. And then once I have it figured out, I'm going to glue everything down with some Helmar's Tiger Grip glue. You can also use Fabri-Tac glue. You can use Beacon 3-in-1, which is kind of the same thing as Fabri-Tac. You can use Mod Podge. You can use a multi-medium, a matte medium or a gloss medium, whatever you want to do to get that paper stuck down. You can use your decoupage glue. Like I said, I'm just going to use some Tiger Grip, the Helmar Tiger Grip glue. And I don't know if it's found here. I know what I've got is actually from Australia. So I don't know if Helmar's is from Australia or not. But anyways, you'll see there that I just made a mistake. I ripped it up. I'm going to go over everything with gesso. So that little bit of torn paper is going to be covered. So here I'm just adding some more texture. This is some drywall tape. You could get it at your hardware store, like your Lowe's, your Home Depot, Ace Hardware, any mom and pop hardware store. You pretty much you might be able to find it at Walmart. There I just added some burlap trim and I used a Studio multi-matte medium. It's from the Ranger line, and I put it on pretty thick so that that trim would stay down. So while that dries, I'm just taking my door and I'm gessoing it. And I wish I would have done it before I added the paper, but hey, the creative process sometimes doesn't always give you ideas before you do it. So here I just added a little bit of water to my gesso puddle. Just to give this a whitewash because I still want some of that paper to show through. I don't want it to be completely white. And like I said, I'm just going to give all that paper just a quick coat of gesso. I'm not necessarily touching the parts of canvas that are still free, but there you can see a good view of how it looks, especially once it's dry. So now I'm going to add my door. There you can see. Again, I'm just using that Helmar's glue. You can use a Fabri-Tac, just anything that's going to have a good hold because you don't want it to fall off. Next, I'm going to grab a Prima stencil and I'm going to use some modeling paste and I'm just using a palette knife just to scratch it on. One thing about canvas, because it doesn't have a hard surface all the way around, you just want to be careful, make sure you get smooth lines. Next, I'm going to be using the Craftsman canvas letters. These are the tiny alphas, not the big ones, but the smaller ones from Prima. And I'm just gluing these ones down. I'm actually using my Fabri-Tac to glue these down. The sentiment I'm actually going to spell, I'm spelling it in the windows of the door. Open your mind. And of course, you know, sometimes when you have a door shut, you block your creativity. When you open your mind to anything, you kind of just have fun and create. So now that that's done, I'm going to start adding some more. These are the Prima Pebbles, and I am going to use Liquitex matte gel to add them down. I'm just putting some on the bottom and I'm smushing them down. And that's going to actually take a little bit of time to dry unless you really heat set it. So next I grabbed a whole bunch of Prima flowers and I am just going to add them to, I tried to grab pretty much everything white, and sorry you saw my son there in the video. He was a little nosy, wanted to know what I was doing. So here I'm using a technique just to create dimension. I added some chipboard to a flower thinking I wanted it higher, but actually I really didn't like the look of it. I wanted everything to be a little closer, so I just kind of smushed my flowers together when I glued them down. So right here you'll see I'm just really trying to smush it all in. Um, Normally I'll add, when you get your boxes, your shipping boxes, sometimes to reuse them, I just kind of cut them up and add them up underneath something just to give it some height and dimension. That way, um, you don't have to use a million pop dots for one particular thing. It's just a real quick fast, and it's recyclable, so it's putting some stuff to good use. So here I'm pulling out some Gina's Designs fern fronds, and I just wanted to add just a little bit more to my flowers, kind of sort of to make those stand out. So I am just giving them a quick coat of gesso. I am using my fingers. I didn't really want to get a paintbrush dirty. My fingers are quicker to clean. So here you'll see next I'm going to use some Heidi Swapp Color Shine, and the color is gold. Sorry, I was trying to get it to focus. This is probably one of my favorite colors of the Heidi Swapp. And the reason why I'm using Heidi Swapp is because of the type of spray it is. It gives really good texture, like a good coating, without having to layer it. But when it heat sets on gesso, it does this funky, like, I don't know, it's something funky happens, and I actually like the way it turns out. So once again, MC, you see that pebble is still not dry, so I had to, I accidentally moved it and had to redo it. So now I've also got some more pieces. I did pop out the paintbrush for this so I could get all the nooks and crannies. These are some more Gina's Design pieces, the gears, and then that is a mini book plate. And like I said, I'm just giving everything a good coat of gesso, and then I'm going to get my Prima stamps. Yay! Time to stamp. I'm just going to pull a sentiment, and this is from the Ladybird collection, from the Cling set, and I just wanted to have a little sentiment there in that mini book plate. Mini book plates are so fun because you can kind of just throw something in there. But it was a little too small for like alpha letters to fit in there, so I actually found a stamp that fit in there, and I thought it was actually perfect for this canvas. Next, I'm grabbing my Sparkle and Sprinkle. This is gilded ivory embossing powder and some gold detail embossing powder. And I'm going to add it to my chipboard pieces, but I'm not going to show the process of doing it just because it's so hard to see. So here you can see the after effect and kind of how it just really adds some texture to the gears. And I actually love the way the stuff looks because it's all in the smaller details, I think, that adds so much to your artwork or your anything that you're working on. It's just that little tiny bit that gives it that push. So here you'll see I'm just adding everything and getting ready to position it all on there. Before I start adding everything though, I am going to start doing a little bit of painting. These are Creative Inspiration paints that I'm using. They're very similar to like your Twinkling H2Os, but with the water already added. They're like a water-based paint. And the color is called Aquamarine, is what I'm using. And then I just used some Tattered Angel Sea Glass spray just to kind of smear it on. And then I pulled some of the paint off just because I wanted to, get a good blend. I wanted a light coat first. So now I'm using some Lindy Stampkins Frosted Forget-Me-Nots and Blue Hawaiian Blue. These are some of my favorite colors for their blue collection that they have. And I'm just going to go ahead and start spraying. And with Lindy Stampkin, you always dry between coats. And I dab as I dry just to pull up any extra color. For my darker color, I'm going to use Hydrangea Blue. This is a really deep blue to me. I mean, it's not a navy blue, but it's a blue. It's really bright. It's really out there. So here you'll see I just kind of sprayed everything. Again, heat set, heat set, heat set. When any kind of liquid, Tiffany's blue, sorry. Tiffany's blue is the color I'm going to use to try and lighten it up because it did get a little too dark for my taste. But when the spray hits those flowers, the flowers will soak it up and kind of spread out. They're not going to hold their form that they were before. So make sure you reform your flowers. So here again, I am just adding water to my paintbrush, dipping it in the pot, dipping it back in water, and just I'm going at this canvas like, I don't know. So now that everything's dry, I'm going to add some frozen Jack Frost just to whiten everything up. And you can see there how it kind of takes back some of that color. So it makes everything look a little softer. Like I said, the flower's still wet. I do need to finish drying the flowers so they kind of crunch back up. And you can really see all the different texture, the fern fronds. I love the look. So I'm going to go ahead and heat set and get everything in position so I could finish adding the rest of my stuff. So next you're going to see here, I'm going to take some gold. I thought it would be a good touch, kind of just to add a little bit more gold to everything. And I remembered Prima has these flowers that have just like some gold paint on some of the petals. So I've got some autumn wheat and some gold creative inspiration paints, and I'm just kind of going around the edges. And then I actually decided to start adding more paint to some of my chipboard pieces. So here you'll see I'm just adding a little bit here and there. Just adding just a little bit more paint just to cover up some more of that white so it's not too bright. And then again, just some Fabri-Tac to glue those pieces down. All right, once I have everything glued, I'm going to pull out my glossy accents and I'm going to get some champagne colored micro beads. And you'll see here I'm just putting the glossy accents down and then I'm just adding those micro beads on top of it. Nothing special, it's just Recollection brand. I got them from Michael's, and I'm just kind of adding them everywhere. I know a lot of people have used a product that creates like a glass bead effect, and then you can add like little balls and seeds and stuff to it. And I've never tried it, I've never seen it, so I need to look into it. But I do use micro beads from time to time. It doesn't look like it because that jar's so full. But next, I am going to grab my Shimmers texture paint, and I'm going to grab another Prima stencil. This is just the Crackle Prima stencil. So I'm just kind of mixing it up and just adding a little bit on the door, just to add some texture to the door so it's not so stark and boring. And then I added some all around the sides. So here is the finished product. Of course, I'll add some close-up pictures, but here you can kind of just see the gold on the flowers and some of that texture. And I just really had so much fun kind of letting loose and just going at this piece. So thanks for joining me. I hope you were inspired to get your products out and play. And thanks for stopping by.